So I checked the email during the break, and this last caller and all this joint sacrifice business, and people suggesting, Rush, you do sacrifice. Why don't you tell that guy how much you pay in taxes? That would not be classy, folks. That's not the way to deal with this. I mean, to tell him that I pay more in taxes in 1 year than he's going to earn in his worthless life is not the classy way to do this, because what this is all about, that's not what this clown actually means by sacrifice. You got to understand this. Joint sacrifice to liberals means more government. Even now, with massive spending, high unemployment, foreclosures, to this liberal that called here and all the rest of them, the problem is not enough government. It's not enough bureaucrats, not enough government benefits, not enough government. That's what the left means. The question is, when is it time for Washington to sacrifice? When is it time for the unions to sacrifice? When is it time for government to sacrifice? When is it time for bureaucrats to sacrifice? When do they ever sacrifice? When does the government sacrifice? The government never sacrifices. Zilch. Zero. Nada. Now, you want to start talking about sacrifice? Sacrifice to me means reducing the size of government. Sacrifice means the takers don't get as much. Sacrifice means the takers stop demanding as much. This is not about rich versus poor. This is about government versus the people, bureaucrats versus the taxpayers, plain and simple. And I want to, you Democrats and those of you in the country that call yourselves leftists, let me tell you something. The worst thing you ever did was pass Obamacare. The worst thing you ever did. You overreached by a factor of a gazillion. You went too far with that. Look at what you've caused. With the simple passage of Obamacare and the undemocratic, fraudulent way you went about it, buying votes, buying off whole states, talking about doing it via budget reconciliation, doing it on Christmas Eve, trick nighttime procedures and so forth. Quite simply, what has resulted is the American people say they don't want you. They don't want what you have to offer. The American people simply do not want liberalism. The American people do not want liberals. Look at what happened. You think what's happening in Wisconsin is coincidence? It's not. You overreach and you take over 1/6 of this economy with a bogus, fraudulent, budget-breaking, Constitution-violating piece of legislation. And look at the shellacking you got. You lost the House of Representatives. You're going to lose the Senate and the White House in 2012. You have lost governorships. You lost 700 seats in state legislatures. And it's all coming home to roost. And what's your solution? Run away. Run away from the job in Wisconsin. Run away from the job now in Indiana. Run away from the job soon in Ohio. The American people do not want you. The American people do not want what you believe. The American people do not want liberalism. You made it plain what liberalism is. It is fraudulent, it is phony, it is law-breaking, it is cheating, it is insincerity, its disingenuousness is on full display with the passage of this health care bill. Everything about liberalism that people instinctively distrust and don't like is now plain as day to see. They don't need their instincts to know. They got real life. And now they can see something also plain as day. All these years, Democrats had made it plain that the little guy, that's who they cared about, the little guy. The downtrodden, the victims of life, and they were made victims by virtue of who? Republicans, conservatives, the rich, the powerful. Yeah, well, who is it the Democrats are siding with now? Who is it? When in a moment of survival for the Democrat Party, where do they go? Not to you, not the voters, not to the population, not to the American people. They stay in bed with the special interest group known as public sector unions. Public sector union guy says to elected Democrat, you're never going to work in this state again unless, and the unless wins. Guy leaves the job, cowardly walks off, gets on a short little bus, and heads to a neighboring state, holed up in a hotel, cowardly afraid to face the little guys for whom supposedly his political existence is aimed at. So the frauds that you all are is now plain as day for everybody to see. The American people don't want you. They don't want liberalism running the institutions and traditions that define this country's greatness. They don't want you. And they saw plain as day what you are all about with the health care bill. And now they see what you're all about with what really matters to you, what your priorities really are. When you walk off the job and try to claim it's with honor, you claim you're doing this for the children, you claim you're doing this for the people. You've spent years impugning, slandering, and libeling Republicans, claiming they wanted to cut money for school lunch programs, kick people out of their houses, take their retirement benefits away from them. You lied and lied and lied. You impugned, you libeled, you slandered. You had the referee in this game on your side, the media. So this notion that you were the ones truly compassionate, you were the ones with the big hearts, you're the ones that really cared about the children. Where are the children today in Wisconsin? Where have the children been with you people in charge now? We just read that 2/3 of Wisconsin 8th graders can't freaking read at an acceptable level. And look at what these teachers are being paid, and look at their pensions, and look at their health care benefits. Take that to the private sector. Not only are they fired, they're maybe in jail for what they've done to the children. So you got to come to grips with something. This country has spoken all the way down to the level of dog catcher. If the dog catcher job was Republican versus Democrat, the Democrat dog catcher lost. It was a steep and deep political shellacking. And so now we see the results of it. Elections have consequences. The people who ran for office against Democrats in November and who were elected have now rolled up their sleeves and are beginning to work. They're doing the work of the people who elected them. They are not engaged in sabotaging the people. The Democrats elected in this country, the vast majority of them, have expressly engaged in sabotage against the American people by siding with other Americans whose job it is to squeeze every last dime out of them in what is not anything other than a transfer of wealth. Public sector unions create zilch. They produce zilch. They add zero to the gross national product. It's simply wealth transfer. It's simply the redistribution of wealth. And what now has happened is that those from whom the wealth is taken have figured out that the beneficiaries of the transfer now earn twice what they who are earning the money in the first place earn. Once that was learned, once that was figured out, what did you expect to happen? Did you really think that there was so much love and adulation, respect for government workers that no matter how large the shaft job was, that the people producing the money to pay these people would just continue to bow down and say, oh, please continue to serve us? We love encountering you at the DMV. We can't wait to see you when we have to get our health care. We just love seeing you people when we show up at the airport. We love getting patted down while Ahmed sails through. Granny blue-hair Bloody Mary gang has to be stripped down to bare nothing, looking for a non-existing weapon. While we're paying all of this, I mean, the tipping point has been reached here. More than 700 seats in state legislatures went from Democrat to Republican. Hello, Wisconsin. Hello, Indiana. Hello, Ohio. Meanwhile, grab audio soundbite number 32 while we're thinking about it. This is the leader of the regime today in Cleveland at Cleveland State University. State-run MSNBC, the only network covering this. And they cut away shortly after the president said what you're going to hear here. The entire nation is focused on Wisconsin. The entire nation is focused on debt. The entire nation is focused on 4 Americans shot by Somali pirates. The entire nation is focused on this country is a target of everybody and everything, including members of its own government. And the leader of the regime, who is the architect of all of this indebtedness, the President of the United States, who is responsible for $4 trillion of the $14 trillion national debt, who is responsible for $1.5 to $2 trillion annual deficits. The President of the United States goes to Cleveland and says,
I've spent the last month since the State of the Union sharing my vision for an America that remains the best place on earth to do business. An America that competes aggressively for every job and every industry that's out there. An America that wins the future. And part of that means making sure that government lives within its means, just like you do.
Now, this is making a fool of yourself. The President of the United States, a leader of the regime in Cleveland, talks about making sure that government lives within its means while organizing the opposition to living within its means in Wisconsin, while organizing the opposition to fiscal responsibility in Wisconsin, while organizing the opposition to sensible budgeting in Wisconsin, while organizing the opposition to doing the right thing. Barack Obama goes to Illinois or Ohio and says we have to live within our means. That's when MSNBC cut out. They figured not even their pundits would be able to spin this with any kind of credibility.